ثم الصلاة والسلام والإكرام على أفضل الموجودات، العبد المؤيد، الرسول المسجد، المصطفى الأمجد، والمحبوب الأحمد، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا، صاحب الوقار والسكينة، المدفون بأرض المدينة، أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة دائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين، آمين يا رب العالمين. أما بعد، فقد قال إمامنا جعفر بن محمد الصادق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه: أشهد لك بالتسليم والتسبيح صلاة. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of you, accept your azadai, your tears, each and every tear drop that you have shed for Abdullah Hussain. You and I have tawfiq to continuously mourn about Abdullah Hussain year after year. May Allah bless us with the honor of visiting Imam Hussain this year and every year. And if we die before that day comes, then Allah bless us with the intercession and shafa'ah of Abdullah Hussain, inshallah, in the qabr, in the barzakh, of the akhirah. 3 nights I am blessed to speak and honor a personality who is the second most important personality in Karbala after Abdullah Hussain. This is none other than Al-Abbas, ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi. Father Ali ibn Abi Talib, mother Fatima al-Kalabiyya, also known as al-Bani, born in the city of Medina, he is Madani, in the year 26 after Hijrah, and died March 10th of Muharram 61 AH. Now, when it comes to the sons of Imam al-Mu'mineen, of course, the first name that comes to mind is Imam Hassan. It's because of Hassan that Ali ibn Abi became Abu Hassan, because of Imam Hassan. And then straight after the name Hussein comes to mind. Al-Hassan wal-Hussein, al-Imamain, al-Sayyidain, Sayyidain Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. However, these were not after Hassan and Hussein, if there's anyone who occupies an important position, a virtuous, mahar and khutbah and lofty really is in his true life of Allah. Yeah, there's a difference here. I can come here and speak an hour. This is Al-Abbas, this is Al-Abbas, this is the marriage of Abbas, this is the Maqamat of Abbas. This is my understanding. This is what I have grasped out of it. But who truly knows of the Father? Masoom, Ahlul Bayt. And hence, the Masoomeen have praised him. When I began to build a part of the Ziyarah of Al-Abbas, six holy Imam. As you know, the six holy Imam was there. When you go to Karbala, you go Najaf. The Imam Sadiq went there. And the Ziyarah that you read, it comes from the holy Imam, Najaf in Karbala. It's Imam Hussain of the Imam. And the word that the sixth Imam uses for Al-Abbas have to be analyzed for us to understand who Al-Abbas really was. The word that some words were recited just now, Ashhadu laka tasbih wa tasbih. Or Allah, I will, who said this? The sixth Masoom Imam. Infallible Imam. Not alim, not a scholar. That position is very low. This is a position of Masoom infallible. There is no position higher than that. I bear witness of your tasneem, in other words, your Islam, your submission to Allah, and your tasdeeq of what? Your tasdeeq of the Imam. In other words, you stood by the Imam of your time, you verified this is an Imam Hussain. I believe the one who's an Imam himself, the one who's an infallible himself, the one who gets direct inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? The sixth one. The fourth Imam, Imam Zayn al-Abidin after Karbala was sitting in Medina. A young boy enters, everybody sitting, a young boy enters, the boy stands up. Where are you going? What happened? There's this child. This is the son of Allah. And when he came in, he reminded me of Al-Abbas. Do you all know Abbas, his son walks into the sixth Masoom Imam's hand? It's not for everybody that they find it to stand. Rasulullah was trying to say the father. Yes? Imam Zayn al-Abidin stands for the son of Al-Abbas. Yeah, sure. Then he left behind with his mother, Muhammed Salah. But let me introduce this personality first. So just to get an idea, let me give you a proposition. You see, all good parents do not necessarily produce good children. Yeah? Parents can be good, amazing. But the children off the hooks. Yes? Going the wrong way. Happens. There is no guarantee that if I even the Prophet Nuh didn't have a guarantee. Yes? Nuh alayhi salam says, my son. Oh Allah, inna wa'daka al-haq. You promised. Oh no, this isn't your son. He's finished, he's gone. You all know, I don't want to go into that. Adam. Some people have come and say, well look, there are certain historical accounts say that no, that wasn't his real biological son. Okay. Let's say that wasn't his biological son, even though that's a weak opinion. Qabil was the son of Adam, 100%. Biological son, there's no difference of opinion here. Yet he was the first murderer who committed the first murder of the first murdered human being. At that time there were only 4. Adam, Hawa and their 2 sons. So killing one was like killing 1/4 of humanity. Good parents don't always produce good children. This is fact.
Yaqub, for how long did his sons make him cry? The Quran says, وَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْحُزْنِ. His eyes went white, he lost his sight. 12 sons, 11 made him cry for years and years. Yaqub, Nabiullah, Salamullahi alayh. Yet is out of 12, 11 sons disobey him. And they make not just a father cry, they make a prophet cry. And how much he cried. The point being that good parents do not necessarily produce good children. But subhanallah, amongst the fada'il of Ali ibn Abi Talib is that he had many sons. We only know a few. Hassan, Hussein, Abbas, his brothers, Muhammed ibn Hanafi. The merit of Ali is that all of his sons made him proud. Amirul Mu'mineen. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, you may say, okay, they're infallibles, they're ma'asumeen, they're two imams, okay. Abu al-Fadl Abbas. 3 brothers with him who were killed on the day of Ashura. Yeah? These are not the sons of Fatima. They're the sons of al-Baneen. Yet look at the beauty of it. Ali ibn Abi Talib, all of his sons make him proud. Number 1. Number 2, you see there's a tradition. The one who marries, and you all know the hadith, the one who marries, his prayer, his salah of 2 rak'atayn has more thawab than the 2 units of the one who's single. Why? Because despite being busy, thinking about earning, providing, working, job, children, family, despite being more busy, he still puts everything aside and he comes on the prayer mat, he or she. Yeah? Comes to the prayer mat, puts his head down in sajda, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdih. Allah says he should get more thawab. Whereas the one who's single, he doesn't have those responsibilities. And sometimes you see that a person who's suffered so much, let's say a person has lost everything. You see around the world today, a person has lost everything. His children have died, his family members have died, he's lost his home, he has nothing. A person like that now may say, I have no reason to live. I don't care if I live or die. The reason I lived was my child, and that child is gone. You see sometimes people say these things. And sometimes people just commit suicide because of the stress. In different countries around the world, suicide rates are high. Why? They can't take it. Something's gone wrong. Something's, upset my routine. Why? Because they have no reason to live. So here, dying is easy. But the person who has every reason to live, he has a mother, he has a spouse, wife, he has children, he has every reason to live. If a man like that steps into the battlefield to give his blood for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gets more thawab than the other. Remember in the World War? Most of the young boys that were being taken to war in Europe were single, young, 16, 17, 18. Let's put them on the front lines. There's an interesting story of this during the war. A Japanese soldier, some of the books mention this, before he went to fight, he took a gun, he shot his mother, his wife, and 2 children. And then he went to fight. He said, why did you do that? He says, if I didn't do that, I would think about them. So before he fights, he kills his own family so that he doesn't think about his woe. This is his dunya. This is his woe. Yet the reality is this person deserves no praise. In fact, this person himself is to be punished. He deserves no praise. You know who deserves the praise? Fadl Al-Abbas, who has a mother like Baneen. He has his wife, Lubaba, salamullahi alayha. He has children, sons. He leaves behind a loving mother, a loving wife, loving children, Medina, his city, everything. Young, 34 years, Fadl Al-Abbas, young. He leaves behind everything, whereas that Japanese soldier killed his mother and came. Abbas ibn Ali salamullahi alayhi gets the blessings of his mother and he comes to defend Hussein. There's a difference. A person can lose everything. Okay, I have no reason to live now. That's easy. That's considerably easier as compared to a person who has every reason to live. Yet he gives everything for the sake of Aba Abdullah. See? Add them together. Not every child has to be good if the parents are good. Not every child. If sometimes the parents are, they say, mashallah, these parents are so good looking, they have great children, beautiful children. These parents are brave, they have brave children, but sometimes they don't. Yet Abbas was loyal, he was brave, and his beauty was such that out of all of the Hashemites, he was the moon of the Hashemites. The Qamar of Bani Hashim. Yes? Jihad is such that Abbas has every reason to live. But what did his mother teach him? That your life is nothing over the life of the son of Fatima. And though he came on the day of Ashura, one of the Maqatil says, Abul Fadl Abbas says to Imam al-Hussein, I have no reason to live. Why? Because I can't see you like this. Oh, Aba Abdullah, let me go. I can't see them mock you. Even though he has his family, he has his children, he has his wife. And this is Karbala. You know, when people go, they leave families behind. Or they hide them somewhere. If the enemy attacks, at least my family is safe. Yet Karbala, brothers have sisters, mothers have sons, husbands have wives, mothers have young children in their laps. Strange. Where do you see an army like this? Only with Hussein ibn Ali. Recite salawat, please. Thank you. And what does the hadith say? The sixth Imam Salamullah alayhi says, may Allah have mercy on our uncle Abbas. When he entered the Euphrates, when he entered the Furat, he was so thirsty his liver was burning. Yet still he didn't take a sip of that water. As long as my master Hussein is thirsty, I shall not take a sip of this water. As long as Sakina is thirsty. And you know what he did? That will go in his account of bravery forever. But when the infallibles praise somebody, it's not something small. It's not something to be taken lightly. If you and I praise somebody, it's something else. We may praise somebody because we like them, we love them, we have a friendship with them, we have a family connection with them. Families praise families all the time. But here when the Imams praise their uncle or the Imam Hussein praises, it's not family praising family. This is an infallible ma'asum, a chosen of God, praising the one who has been given virtues by God. It's different. It's not family praise. This is my brother or this is my uncle. No. This is somebody who has been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me give you another one. Throughout history, those amongst the soldiers, amongst especially that time in Medina and historically, those who had tall height were praised. These are warriors. They were loved. They were brought to the front of the army. They say some of the companions of Imam Ali alayhi salam were known for their height. Ahlul Bayt were known for their height. As in, there was never a time that somebody was so tall to the Prophet that Rasulullah had to look up towards him. That was just because that was the honor of the Prophet. That Allah never brought anyone in front of the Prophet that he looked down at the Prophet and the Prophet looked up at him. Never do historians record there was such a moment that a man came to the Prophet and looked down at him. Allah defends the honor of His Prophet. And so Ahlul Bayt were known for their heights, and so do narrations praise those who were known to be of height, tall. And Abul Fadl Al-Abbas was such one personality. The historian said, the Maqatil said that when he would ride a horse, yarkabul farasa, that when he would ride the horse, his feet وَرِجْلَاهُ يَخَطَّانِ فِي الْأَرْضِ, his feet would drag on the land. He was known for his height. Somebody, Muawiyah in Syria, once met one of the companions of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he was tall, so he mocked him. He says, هَلْ عِنْدَكْ خَبَرٌ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ. He says, you're so tall, what is happening up there? To mock him. What's happening up there? What's up there? And he was, of course, companion of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He says, what's up there? He says, Allahu fi as-sama' wal malakul maut fil hawa wa amirul mu'mineen fil qada. He says, you ask me about there, Allah is in there. Allah is up there. Allahu fi as-sama'. You ask me what's in the air, he says, Malakul Maut is coming for you. The angel of death. Wa amirul mu'mineen fil qada. And the final judgment, the final word, the final authority lies with my master Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Some of the companions, this was one of the companions. Some say it was a companion by the name of Tarmah. Some say it was a companion by the name of Qambar, the Qambar of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Abul Fadl at a young age in the Battle of Siffin. You know, the Battle of Siffin is the bloodiest battles of Islam. There have been many battles. One of the most bloodiest battles. One night of this battle is known as Laylatul Harir. The night of the screaming cats. You know why? Because usually what happens is with the rising of the sun, they would begin fighting. And by sundown, they would stop. But this one night, all through the night, fighting raged on. And you would hear the striking of swords on swords until men were put down. And throughout the night, it was dark, nobody could see. You would hear the screaming of men like cats scream at night. And so they called it Laylatul Harir from Huraira. Abu Huraira, you know the name? The father of cat. They would scream. And said they called it the night of the screaming cats. One of the nights of Siffin, Abul Fadl Abbas was young. They say he was 13 in this battle. And he fought. But what Amir al-Mu'mineen would do, because nobody would fight Ali ibn Abi Talib. Whenever Ali would come out, they say, we can't fight him. Because Muawiyah says, fight anyone, don't fight Ali. And so what Amir al-Mu'mineen would do in this battle on numerous accounts, he would come out hiding his face. He would change his clothing, the clothing of war. He would wear somebody else's. He would open his turban and he would cover his face with a niqab. You know whose clothing he would put on? Abul Fadl Abbas. He would say, oh son, you take my armor, my shield, my clothing of war, you give me yours. Abbas is young. Yet at that young age, his height was such that he would fit into his father's clothes and his father would fit into his clothes. This has a message behind it. You know, Ahlul Bayt exchanging clothes is not a joke. In Ghadir, Rasulullah takes his ammama and he puts it on the head of Amirul Mu'mineen. Not a joke. This is to show a maqam of wilaya. This is to show position. Ali ibn Abi Talib, by exchanging clothes, he's showing that Abbas carries a wilaya within him. He's not ordinary. He carries a position from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so for this reason, sometimes Ahlul Bayt would do this in public. You wear my turban, I wear your turban. You wear my garment, I take yours. To show a position, a maqam of wilaya with Abu al-Fadl Abbas. Salamullahi alayhi. So now I add them together. Abu al-Fadl, a child unlike any other child. Abu al-Fadl, bravery unlike any other bravery. Leaves behind everything for the sake of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Abu al-Fadl Abbas, known to be the moon of the Hashemites, known for his beauty at a young age, known for his height, known for his bravery, that when he did finally, in Masaib, you read this in the Maqtal, when he did finally get a position, okay, go and get some water. 30,000 flee just seeing Abu al-Fadl Abbas come towards the Furat, the Alqama. They all flee. You might say one person and 30,000 are running. But remember, the same thing happened in Khaybar and Khandaq. This is the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. You remember in Kufa? They couldn't surround one person, Muslim ibn Aqil. They couldn't surround him, they couldn't take him down. They said, call for more. Ibn Ziyad, bring more troops. To the point that Ibn Ziyad said, what's wrong with you? Just one person. You keep asking for more troops. So you don't know who this is. He's from the family of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's from the family of Ja'far, son of Aqil. That was a son of Aqil. This is the son of Ali. Yeah? Imagine if the son of Aqil is like this. What the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib would be like. The one who was called. And usually what happens is, somebody is praised for their bravery once you see it. Yeah? You see somebody, subhanallah, that person is brave. You see somebody give, or somebody's always giving, subhanallah, that person is sakhi, is generous, is shuja. He has loyalty. One of the ulama, he puts it beautifully. He says, Abbas is one such personality who was praised for his bravery. Pay attention to this. Abbas was one such personality who was praised for his bravery, his shuja'ah, before his birth. Where do you get that? You haven't even seen him. How do you know he's brave? You haven't seen him fight. You haven't seen him lift a spear or a sword. Yet Amir al-Mu'mineen says to Aqil, "Oh Aqil, find me a lady from amongst the tribes of the Arabs so that when I marry her, Allah blesses me with a ferocious lion. With a shuja, with a brave." This is unique to Abu al-Fadl Abbas. He was praised before his birth. By who? By the one who's praised by everybody, Ali ibn Abi Talib. I mean, if this isn't huge, then I don't know what is. If this isn't big, then there's nothing bigger than this. Even Ali ibn Abi Talib was praised after he lifted the gates of Khaybar. Ali was praised after he puts down Amr ibn Wad in Khandaq. Ali was praised after he defends Rasulullah with his life in Uhud. Ali was praised after he ferociously defeats the champions of Badr. Ali was praised after he stood steadfast with the Prophet when everybody escaped from Hunayn. Abbas was praised before his birth. Before coming in the dunya. Subhanallah. Now imagine this line as it takes. You see, certain historical events, there may be something small. You see, history is not just you read over it. MashaAllah, I read over it, khalas, done. This is not the point of history. The point of history is to try to derive, extract those hidden messages. This is the job of a good historian. A person can pick up a book and, okay, I've read it. Yeah, I've read a book on Imam Ali alayhi salam. I've read a book on Imam Hassan. I've read a book on Abu al-Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayhi. But the point is to read between the lines, to try to istinbat, istikhraj, istinaj, which is to try to get a conclusion, to try to get read the hidden message that ordinary minds may not reach. I'll give an example. Sometimes a historical event only lasts a split second. But it's so important that it carries a message until Qiyamah. I'll give an example. إِنَّ ضَرْبَةَ عَلِيٍّ فِي الْخَنْدَقِ أَفْضَلُ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ الثَّقَلَيْنِ. That one strike of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the battle of Khandaq against Amr. You remember when Amr came and he said, "Oh Muhammad, who will fight me? You want to go to Jannah? I'll send your people to Jannah now. You send them out." Nobody stood up. The Prophet says 3 times, قال صلى الله عليه وآله من له من له من له, until at the end when he struck with the spear at the tent of the Prophet, he said, "Man لهذا الكلب?" Who will go and silence this dog? Because he disrespected the Prophet. He came to the door of the Prophet and he hit a spear. He stabbed a spear into the tent of the Prophet. The Prophet would say, "Who will go to this dog?" 3 times nobody got up except Ali. "Ana ya Rasulullah, labbaik ya Rasulullah, labbaik." 3 times. That one strike of Ali was so important that the Prophet says that one strike of Ali is greater than the worship of men and jinn put together. Now the question is, how long did that strike take? Nobody knows the speed of the strike of Haydar except Haydar or Allah. Nobody knows. But we know that one strike was so important that the hadith is both Sunni and Shia books. أَفْضَلُ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ الثَّقَلَيْنِ. It is greater than the worship of men and jinn put together. We don't know what it was in that strike, but it's so important that it carries a message until the day of Qiyamah. You might say that strike, done, hit, done. He was on the floor. You know what he did? When he came off the horse to fight Imam Ali alayhi salam, he took his sword and he cut the legs of his horse. Imam Ali cut his legs off. How long does a strike take? It doesn't take long. Yet it's so important, you can't forget it. Sometimes a hadith is short. Khutbah of Ghadir, it's a lengthy khutbah. But the most important part is tiny. Man kuntu mawlahu, fahada aliyun mawla. Short, small, what is this? Tiny. Yet so important that your iman and my iman is incomplete without this. Man kuntum mawla. Yeah? Something that doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of energy, doesn't take a lot of thinking, but it's so important that if it's not without man kuntum mawla, if it doesn't have that, Allah doesn't want that Islam. Because al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinukum. Khalas. Today we finished religion. The life of Abul Fadl is short. Now this is where I want to take you back to Abbas salamullahi alayhi. The life of Abbas was short, 34 years. History doesn't speak much of him, except Karbala. Rarely do you find a detailed account of the life of Abul Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayhi from his birth to his shahada. Yet the life of Abbas has become so important that one cannot imagine Karbala without Abul Fadl. That's how important it is. One cannot imagine, like you can't imagine Karbala without Zainab, salamullahi alayha. You cannot imagine Karbala without Abbas. In the words of Marhum Al-Allama Abdul Razak Musawi Al-Muqarram, rahimahullah, he says when Hazrat Abbas was leaving now, he meets his brother. Imam Hussein says something here. And it's my final points before I come to Masaib. He says something. He says, oh brother, irkab benafsi anta ya akhi. Mount the horse. May my life be sacrificed for you. Benafsi anta ya akhi. Who is saying this? Hussein. Which Hussein? Husaynun minni wa ana min al-Husayn. The same Hussein whose life is the life of the Prophet, whose existence is the existence of the Prophet, whose wujud is the wujud of the, whose haqiqah, his reality is the reality of the Prophet. That reality, haqiqatu Muhammadiyah, is now saying this. May this, whatever Hussein is, only Rasulullah knows who Hussein really is. You say, who is Hussein? Who is Hussein? We try to explain Hussein, but we don't know who Hussein is. That's for sure. Whoever that Hussein is, only Allah knows the reality. That reality is now saying, may this be sacrificed for you, O Abul Fadl. Allahu Akbar. Walillahi alhamd. This alim now says that this is huge. And he says, look, if you look on the day, from the night of Ashura and the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein has given many sermons. Some of the historians have said that on the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein gave 12 sermons. You don't know who I am? Am I not the son of the Prophet? Am I not the son of Fatima? You want to kill me? Are these not the children of Rasulullah? Are these not the granddaughters of Rasulullah? 12 sermons he gave. Wake up. What are you doing? Nobody listened. Because their stomachs were filled with haram. Their hearts had become stones. However, there's one point that Imam Hussein stays back and he sends his brother Abbas forward. When? The night of Ashura. Taswa, he sends his brother. He says, you go. You say to them, you want a night. We want one night. Don't attack tonight, because Umar ibn Sa'ad wanted to attack at night. He says, oh my brother Abul Fadl, go tell them that we want one night for ibadah, for worship. And tomorrow, you can do as you please. The question is, the Imam who gave so many sermons, 12 sermons, why does he now send his brother? Because this is a point where he shows them what Abbas says is what I say. What Abbas asks for, I ask for it. What he commands is what I command. In other words, he is my representative. And then he says, then this scholar says something beautiful. But Kufa also had a representative of Imam Hussein. Muslim ibn Aqil. So now who's higher if they're both? He's a Safir in Kufa. Abul Fadl Abbas is like his Safir in Karbala. Who's greater? He said there is something that takes Abbas above Muslim. What is that? Pay attention to this. This is important. He says both of them represent Imam al-Hussein. Muslim in Kufa. On the night of Ashura, Abbas ibn Ali. What Muslim says in Kufa is what Hussein says. What Abbas says on the night of Ashura is what Hussein says. Anyone who gives allegiance on the hands of Muslim, they've given allegiance as if on the hands of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Anyone who disobeys Abul Fadl Abbas on the night of Ashura has disobeyed Abul Fadl Abbas. So what is the difference? He says there's one huge difference. Muslim represented Hussein ibn Ali when Hussein was not in Kufa. I don't know if you're with me or not. There's a difference. Whereas Abbas represents Hussein when Hussein is right next to him. This is huge. Muslim was alone. You had no choice. You want to give your allegiance? You want to hear what Imam Hussein has to say? You would come to Muslim. They would come to Muslim. They would give his allegiance. They would give allegiance. And they would listen to the message of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. But in Karbala, Imam Hussein is there. He's giving sermons. He's out there. He's come out. He's met with Umar ibn Sa'ad. La'natullahi alayh. He's met with them. But despite the fact that he's there, and yet he makes his brother his representative. It takes his position above Muslim ibn Aqil. And of course, the shahadat, you know, the sacrifice, you know. My time is coming to an end. The sacrifice, you know. When Muslim was killed, and the news of Muslim reached Imam al-Hussein, and Imam al-Hussein is on his way to Kufa before they take him towards Karbala. The news of the shahadat of Muslim reaches, he sits down, tears flow from his eyes, and he says, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. This is what he says when Muslim dies. But you know what he says when Abbas fell from the horse? Al-ana inkasara dhahri. Oh Abbas, your falling from the horse has broken the back of Hussein. And it's not just the back of Imam al-Hussein that was broken. The back of Hussein was broken for sure, but the heart of Zainab was broken as well. Ajrukum ala Allah ya Shia. As we move towards Safar and the sacrifices of Ahlul Bayt, let us remind ourselves of that moment when Abul Fadl was to leave. You know, you hear this, Abul Fadl is to leave and he meets Imam al-Hussein. And you hear the al-wida, the separation of a brother from a brother. But hear the separation of a brother from a sister. When Abbas was leaving, Imam Hussein says to his brother, oh brother, if you must go, then go and visit your sister before you go. Now just imagine this, Abul Fadl Abbas comes where? To the Mukhayyam, the Khayma of Sayyida Zainab. He asks permission to enter. She gives him permission. She looks at Abbas. She knows what time it is. She knows that anyone who went doesn't come back. And so she doesn't stop him. She says, oh my brother, I know that everybody must go. Now this is a time where nobody's left. Sayyida Zainab knows that nobody's left. But she says, oh Abul Fadl, if you must go, before you go, allow me to tell you a hadith. Today I want to speak with you before you go. The narration say that she sits and he comes and he sits on his knees in front of her. This is the lion, son of the Lion of God. He sits in front of her and he says, oh Sayyida Zainab, tell your brother what you want to tell him today, for you won't see your brother after this. Out of all the things that Sayyida Zainab could have told Abul Fadl, what does she tell him? She says, oh Abul Fadl, listen, I was young, I was small. And one day our father Ali had me in his lap. And he was hugging me. And he was speaking with me. And there came a point that he would begin to kiss my hands and my arms. And when he kissed my arms, he began to cry. And I said, oh Father Ali, why do you cry? He says, oh Zainab, I see a day when the enemies of Allah will put ropes around these hands. I see a day when they will hit these arms that they will leave bruises and marks on these hands. Ajrakum ala Allah, O Shia. Just imagine this. This is a sister whose brother is going. And then she said, I would say to myself, oh Abbas, that Allah has honored me with so many brothers. Some of the narrations say Ali had 18 sons. She says, I grew up, I didn't understand what my father meant. I have so many brothers. I have Hassan, I have Hussein, I have you, I have the sons of Baneen. I have so many brothers. Who would dare touch me? But oh Abul Fadl, now that you go, I know that day is near. I know that they will put ropes. I know I will become a prisoner of Banu Umayyah. I know that I will be taken to the streets of Kufa and Sham. Ajrakum ala Allah, O Shia. I don't know what was hard for Sayyida Zainab, this or that moment when Abul Fadl fell. You know, at a distance when Abbas enters the Furat, when he left, you couldn't see at a distance. All you could see was the alam. Now imagine this. They see the alam. Here Sayyida Zainab is looking from the Mukhayyam. Imam Hussein is standing in the Maqtal. And there is a 3-year-old little girl who's standing outside the Khayma. Why? Because she knows her uncle promised her water. Ajrakum ala Allah. Now imagine this. Everybody's eyes are glued on the alam. What do they see as the alam now comes back? The alam is coming closer. There comes a time as the alam comes closer. What do they see? They see the alam moves from the right to the left. And then they see the alam moves from the left to the middle. This is not the movement of the alam. Who will explain it to them? This is them severing the hands of Abul Fadl Al-Abbas. Now at that moment, in that instant, as they see this, they see the alam falls to the ground. It is at that moment Aba Abdullah puts his hands on his back and he says, "Oh Abul Fadl, you've left your brother. Oh Abbas, my back has been broken. Ajrakum ala Allah." I leave you with this. Every dying person has a wasiyah. But you know what the wasiyah of Abul Fadl was? When Imam al-Hussein came closer, it is as if Imam al-Hussein thought that Abbas didn't have any life in him. But as he came closer, there was life in Abul Fadl. But he heard somebody. You know what Abul Fadl Abbas his last moments were like? He had an arrow in one eye and he had blood in the other. When he saw his brother, he couldn't see, he could hear somebody coming. He says, "Oh, whoever you are, do not kill me. I want to see my brother one last time." That broke the heart of Aba Abdullah. He says, "Ya akhi, ya Abbas, ana akhik al-Hussein." "Oh, my brother Abbas, this is your brother Hussein." He embraces him. He puts him in his lap. He says, "Oh, my master Hussein, I have a wasiyah." "What is the wasiyah?" He says, "Oh, my master Hussein, you took the bodies back to the Mukhayyam. Do not take my body back." He says, "Why?" He says, "Because I promised Sakina water. I promised the children that their uncle will bring them water to quench their thirst." Ajrakum ala Allah. Imagine how that was on the heart of Aba Abdullah. And he says, "I have another wasiyah, one last." He said, "What is it?" He says, "By God, I would have never asked you to do this. But you remember when I was born, you are the first person that I saw. Now as I leave this dunya, I want to see you one last time." Oh Abul Fadl, peace be upon you, the love Abbas had for Hussein. And then he says, "Oh my master, I would have never troubled you. But as you can see, Abbas doesn't have any hands anymore." Ajrakum ala Allah. It is at that moment Hussein embraces Abul Fadl. He brings him closer. He puts his head on his chest. He puts his head on his lap. I leave you with this. But what does the Maqtal say? The Maqtal says Abbas would throw himself off the lap of Hussein, off the legs of Hussein, and he would say, "Oh Akhi Abbas, what is the matter? Am I not your brother? Why do you not allow me to embrace you? Why do you not allow me to hug you one last time? What would you say?" Do you know what Abbas says? He says, "Oh my master Hussein, I think about you. You embrace me now, but in a few moments, who will embrace you, Ya Aba Abdullah? Who will carry you and who will embrace you and who will take you?" Because Abbas knew there would be no one there after him. And you know what happened? No one embraced him. What did they do? It was the body of Aba Abdullah and the hoofs of the horses. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم حسين يا حسين.